Hi, everyone. I'm Chelsea Moon, head of training here at Enerflo, and welcome to our final session of the day. And what an incredible 2 days it's been. And without further ado, we're just going to jump right into this one. I'm going to quickly introduce our co-founders here at Enerflo, Pat Bennett and Spencer O'Brien. And why don't you guys go ahead and take it away to recap and round out this event?
Thank you for the intro.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It's might be a little off script, but we're gonna have some fun here for sure.
This is my favorite version of Pat. When Pat goes off script, he gets giddy and he smiles like he's doing right now. He's, what's gonna happen?
Yay.
But no, this was really fun. This is a phenomenal show, like event. I don't know if we would call it a show because we're not like, but this was so rad. I don't know what you thought about it.
I think if you compare the content you get at some of these other industry events, I think we crushed it on that front. We want people
When you say we, who is we?
Enerflo, the panelists, everybody who is part of this. I think we had over 30 people actually like part of this whole thing coming together, which is so rad to see. So it's that fostering of collaboration, I think, which was really great. And yeah, everyone pulled together to make it awesome. So I think it was a great first one.
Yeah, I got on with one of our panelists yesterday afterwards to thank him. And I'll keep some anonymity here for him because I don't know if he's like, hey, Spencer, you go ahead and tell us, everybody. But I got on with him and I was like, hey, I really appreciated your words and thanks for taking the time. We just had a nice little chat. And then afterwards, he's like, dude, are you guys going to do more of these? And I was like, why? Did you like it? And he's, dude, this was awesome. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. He's like, this is what RE plus SPI used to be 10 years ago. We used to have this kind of stuff. He's like, now it's like the meetings there, they suck. It's too loud. You don't have the ability. Everybody's trying to sell you something. Like, it's not where you can just come in and sit down and learn it. And then if you were there and it was quiet, like there's no recording, like all of these things, like the medium that we were presenting in and how the people that we got, he really loved it. And then he had all of these suggestions. Like, can we do this and this? I was taken aback a little bit. I was like, that's awesome. And it was really validating, made me feel good. I'm not going to lie. It's just like when you have an idea, we've been thinking about it for such a long time. We're like, there's a need for this. And then someone whom I respect validated the heck out of it. I was like, that's cool. But I'm looking forward to anybody who's watching this now. I'd love to get more feedback from anybody on the things you like, things you didn't like. And we'll probably be reaching out. But yeah, it was cool, Pat.
Yeah, something similar happened to me too. Someone who's a panelist today texted me yesterday, hey, I'm even more excited about tomorrow because of the sessions I saw today, your guys' format, how you're going about it. I'm super amped. Thanks for letting me be a part of it. But really, we couldn't have done it without all of them. Enerflo doing this ourselves, us just talking the whole time wouldn't have been good. A lot of people who came really are the industry experts. We had the top companies in the whole resi industry bringing VP and above people. It was awesome.
Yeah. How about Julie Piper coming in, crushing it, and then doing the thing with the White House? I'm like, what?
Yeah, this is like
cool. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for giving us 35 minutes of your precious time. Yeah, no, she's been awesome, and collaborating with her on the RSA has been really incredible. She's like the grown-up in the room that actually knows and rubs shoulders with lobbyists and all these people.
We're like, hey, we're just pretending.
Yeah, so she's super awesome. I thought that was a perfect way to kick off the day. I wonder if people are taking it seriously enough. We've been talking about regulation for years, but I don't know if it's like really getting into the hearts and minds of like actual reps on the door. Maybe it's just they don't think it's coming. Maybe they don't think it's someone else's problem to solve. But honestly, I think, as Mark Bench just said on our last panel, regulation is here. Actually, it's not that it's like it might come, like it is here. SIA today is working on 2 documents that will absolutely influence how people sell. It'll say how reps have to get trained, and then states are going to adopt those standards and it becomes policy. So I think we're past like, hey, regulation might come one day. No, it's actually here and it's like fully coming in. And so the work I'm doing with the RSA, the work you're doing with SIA, it's trying to get ahead of this stuff and then make sure people are aware so they can actually embrace it.
Yeah. I think it harkens back to batteries. I'll make the connection, but it's like reps don't know how to sell batteries, right? Historically, I think they're getting better at it. But historically, it's just been like, oh, this is an extra adder to my job and it's going to make it more expensive. And that's going to hurt my ability to close this deal. And I think that's the same way that lots of people in the industry look at compliance. and it's, hey, this is something that's going to get in my way, that extra welcome call, that extra disclaimer, the extra slide to explain this or whatever, it's going to lengthen my sale. And first off, if it lengthens your sale by a minute or 5 minutes, and you think that's going to make the difference in the sale, I was like, we probably should revisit your value prop and how you're pitching,
Yeah.
because that shouldn't make the difference, number one. But number two, I think we're not making the connection that if you do this the right way, it produces longevity, one, in your business, but it also will increase. I strongly believe that by doing this, it will increase your pull-through rate. It will dramatically increase your pull-through rate, because if you go look at why people cancel, one of the reasons why they cancel is because there's a trust factor there. And
Yeah.
if they have all this information and they feel, you know what, I feel good about this, I would expect that pull-through rate to increase. I would expect referrals to increase. I think it's only good that can happen from it, but I don't think that connection is being made. And so that's something that I'd love for us to maybe focus on for the next 6 months and at Enerflow, but just also anyone who's listening to this as an industry. It's like, how can we make that connection? Because if you do that, we self-regulate, we get rid of these problems, and at the same time, we provide a better product and service.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, so maybe you think through the next session of TPO, you were talking about regulation or things that might change the sale. Reps have had to get used to more of a TPO sale. It's very different now because you are relying on savings. You actually have to give them a system that will yield savings for them, where when you finance it, you don't maybe care as much. I hope reps do care and want to give a customer something of value. But with TPO, change orders are way higher because
that was fascinating to me, by the way. I did not know that.
Yeah. And I think, again, it just goes back to, you have to design a system that's going to produce a yield, because the asset manager, they need to be able to make sure that they're going to make money on it. And so you actually have accountability on a TPO deal that you do not have on a finance deal. And I've actually heard some financiers starting to talk to some other companies about underwriting finance deals because of just this, again, trust factor, making sure the customer is getting an asset that they can receive value on for a long period of time. And so I think actually like TPO mentality, taking some of that additional work you may have to do, that additional consultation, and moving that to just every sale you do, I actually think would be a positive thing.
Yeah, I think we have installers that do this, and there's some of our most successful installers, and there's some financial partners and others that are going this direction. But if you think about, if TPO is the hardest thing that you do, is the most rigorous, call that the lowest common denominator. Like, if you can make everything match that process, right?
Yeah.
Then one, you don't have to have multiple processes in your business. Everything follows the TPO process. But if it's good enough for TPO, then it's 100% good enough for finance. But then it raises the bar for finance. And then I think there's a correlation here that needs to be drawn between doing that and then pull-through rate and your ROI as an installer and as a sales organization. I also think that there's a lot that goes into this with recheck. There's a lot of things that were going on today that actually play into the compliance piece, but like with recheck and the certifications, the stuff that you were talking about with SIA. I know the stuff that you're doing on with the RSA, the stuff I'm doing with SIA. There's all of these things, but at the rep level, if we do all of these things and then it goes all the way to the consumer, then it just reminded me what we talked about yesterday. Who are we solving for?
Yeah.
We are solving for the homeowner. And it's always, man, we've been doing this, Pat, 6 years? I don't know. It feels like a million, but we've been doing this 6 years, and everyone always talks about, customer experience. What experience are you actually providing? You like to throw that word around a lot. What is the actual experience that you're giving them? And I think that every business owner that listens to this, I think that you should take a hard look at what is the actual experience that your consumer is getting. What's the experience that they're getting when the lead is generated at sale, at quoting, at contract signing, with your site survey team, permitting team, all the way through to PTO and lending, and then with the lender. And then the installer needs to look at that. The lender needs to look at that. All of these people, we all need to look at that. Because if and you mentioned it yesterday about the weak links, any of those links in that process break, then it breaks the whole process, and that customer's experience isn't good. But that's one of the huge takeaways, I think, from these sessions is customer experience, and then the longevity of have a long view of your business and not a myopic view of what do I need to do today? Like, what you do today needs to be accretive and helpful for what you're trying to do 5 years from now. You should be here. You should have a plan to be here 5 years from now.
Absolutely. That's what Hunter was talking about on the installer panel. Going back in time, it's no, I want to do things today that are going to ensure I'm in business 5 or 10 years from now. If you're just in solar today to make a quick dollar, you probably will. That could
And you
be,
won't be around.
but then you won't be around to move on to something else. And I don't think that's good for anybody. We know we're playing the long game, looking at the energy renewable goals the government has. They're projecting into 2030, 2035. That's what we have to be working toward, not just 2014, 2024, or 2025. And I think what you're talking about too parlays into batteries. Julia mentioned something interesting that, and I've seen these documents, it was actually sent to me last week and I started going through it, that they want to start regulating how savings calculations are actually done. We're talking the input level, like actually getting into code somewhat of you have to use PD watts, you want to use these losses. And it's really interesting as you think about batteries too. There is this like really difficult problem where you're trying to model for a customer, hey, here's what the impact a battery will have on your solar system. Now, you could project something, and then day two, the homeowner switches how their battery works. And everything you projected is completely out the window because you could say, I'm giving you a system and it's optimized for backup. And then they get into their super sophisticated Enphase app or SolarEdge app or whatever, and they say, switching to arbitrage, right? And so now the whole way the battery is being used is completely different than what was shown in the sales process. I think that goes back to just that educating though, right? Of, hey, just so you know, homeowner, when you have a battery, you're going to be given this very powerful asset. It's a brain of your solar system. You will be able to manipulate it in a few different ways. I'm going to show you one use case, and that can produce the savings. But if you decide to take it upon yourself to change your behavior, a lot of this could change. And don't be alarmed by that. It's like, just embrace the fact that you are getting something with a lot of control, educate them. And that's way better than just be like, hey, I guarantee your battery's going to do this. Because you really can't guarantee how.
No, trust me, it will. It's gonna be great.
And we know consumption spikes, right? Anytime people get solar, what do they start doing? Electricity's free. Keep on all the lights.
Let's use it more. I love it. When I was selling solar door to door, I remember that people were like, "Oh, I'm going to save this much money," and I started telling them, "You're probably not going to." What do you mean? I was like, "Because you're probably going to go get that hot tub you wanted. You might buy an electrical car, or electric car, electric car, and then you're probably just going to be like, oh, electricity's free. The sun's making it, so I'm just going to leave all my lights on. Your paternal qualities are going to turn off, and you're going to stop following your kids around, Pat, and you're going to stop turning off all the lights because you're like, oh, it's free." And your usage is actually going to go up. Statistically, you will use more power than what you use today because you got solar. Now, the power that you're going to get is cheaper, but there's also a whole piece there with the consumer that I think we should also focus on training them on how to interact with their electricity differently. Because when you have a battery is being charged by solar, you have time of use, you have an electric vehicle. It's like, now is my electricity, is it a liability or is it an asset?
Yeah.
How do you interact with it? How do you think about it? How do you use it? Is there a microgrid in my area? Am I on I can't even think of the word right now. VPP, right? Can I make money off it? And there's such a big shift coming. And I think those are the things that I'm most excited about for 2025 is that shift. Like it's already happening. This isn't stuff that like, oh, it's going to happen in a year or two. It's happening now. How mainstream will it be next year and where we're going? But really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I was talking to an installer last week and they said, no, we're not a solar installer anymore. We're a home electrification company. And it's interesting. It's a different shift. And it goes back to what we were talking about yesterday of owning that customer long term. When you're selling solar, you're really showing them a new way to you're hooking them up to a new electricity source. But there's other things that can be done in the home to optimize that electricity source. And so I think we're seeing more and more of that as well, is that you're really upgrading this customer to a new way of thinking and a new way of getting power. But there's so much more you can actually do on the home if you retain that customer.
So I know we had a lot of sessions. If I were to ask you if you had a favorite session,
oh, that's hard.
It's like asking if you have a favorite kid and all the other kids are like, I'm not a favorite. But if you had a favorite session, do you have one?
Man, if I had to pick one, I would probably go with Julia's on compliance. And probably because that's where my heart has been for the last few months and really trying to take it seriously, leading the RSA on different committees, looking through the SIA forms, understanding the impact it could have. And she really is an expert. We had a lot of experts on a lot of panels, but she really knows her stuff. And And I've been geeking out on that stuff a little bit lately. And so I think just the fact that she was willing to come share her expertise really help us all realize, guys, we got to take this more serious. I think it was a highlight for sure.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Seconds and thirds, but I got that's
Yeah,
probably
yeah. No, I had a ton that I really liked. I think the one that really captivated me the most though was the first one with Phil Shen, Chris from Ohm, and
yeah,
you, and then that conversation. I like the format, like the intimacy of it. I love the visuals. I love the back and forth conversation. I felt like I was sitting there watching you guys having lunch together and just
sure.
really talking about stuff. And I was like, "Ooh, that was really rad for me," and I enjoyed that one a lot. But yeah, I'll be curious to find out who liked what, why they like it, so we can refine this and get it better. But I wanted to give a shout out to everybody on our team that put this together. There's a lot of hard work that went into it. Thank you so much for everything that you did. I want to also give a shout out to all of those participants. I've been texting and calling you. I know Pat has. I know Dave and others have been calling you to thank you. Thank you so much for giving your time, not only to us, but to the industry and to our peers. Some of them are your competitors, but I love that we're in this together and we're trying to do our best together. So I appreciate everybody. And I'm really looking forward to the next one.
Absolutely. I think this was a great way to kick things off. And now I think we have to keep doing this, right? I think the industry and people who attended loved it so much that they're going to put the pressure on us to keep formats like this going. And maybe there's things we can do in between annual ones. I'm sure there's a lot of ideas spinning so we can have similar content, but same sentiment. Our team worked extremely hard over the last 2 weeks. Really appreciated you, and then everybody who came together. That there really was the best way to make this a success was bringing in these experts from all over the industry.
Great. Well, until next time.
All
See you
right.
guys later.
Till now.